Hey everybody, this is vlog number 9. It's Mark Arnstein of Remax Hallmark and of course NorthTorontoLiving.com. I have 3 incredible ladies with me here today and we're going to talk over some really cool subjects about COVID, from nutrition, from health, from psychotherapy. So let's meet our panel of guests. I have Deborah Epstein, who is a registered and licensed psychotherapist. We have Trisha Kindred from The Healthy Dish, who is a natural, holistic nutritionist. And I also have Michelle Epstein. I have Els Fitness and Social and also Els On Demand. So one of the things I want to talk about today to have like this open conversation is that we've done interviews with all 3 of you guys back early in the spring when COVID first started and came down. And now that was spring going into summer, which was a much easier transition with what was going on. Now we're going in fall into winter. So how are we going to deal with this? And I know
that's a really small question.
So what are some key tips from a survival standpoint? Because the fact is kids can't go outside, right? They can't, it's gonna be harder to go outside as the weather changes. It's gonna be more of a challenge. So what do we do for advice for being at home?
I would actually start with don't be at home.
Okay.
I think our mindset around that has to shift because we're so used to just being like, we can be outside when it's nice and warm outside, but when it's cold outside, we just huddle in. So actually, I think self-care has to be, first of all, as adults, we have to look after ourselves. So that means, I just bought a $25 pair of crampons for my boots so I can walk in the park and not slip.
Right.
Which I've never owned in my life before, but now I do. So it's actually about preparing for the winter, but it's not like hunkering down for the winter. I think it's actually the opposite, which is like, how are we going to get outside in the winter? So if that means you get a warmer jacket if you can afford one, or like surf the net and find those cheap things that will allow you to just like get outside and be outside, because
right.
Natural fresh air is incredibly important. Moving around is incredibly important, which I'm sure Michelle will speak to a bit later, but I think so moving and doing outside, so getting your mindset to shift around that I think is incredibly important, and really starting to think creatively about what self-care looks like for you.
Right.
If you need that walk, then you go for that walk. If you, need quiet time, then you find quiet time, whatever that is. But really thinking about what self-care means for both you and your children, and really helping your children also shift their mindset around wintertime is also amazing. Now, for the first time ever, I'm praying for snow, because at least that will help us, shift and be able to do something different.
Right.
But if you can't, put on your snow pants, which you probably never wear unless it's snowing, but now maybe you will, and go and play a game of football or go and play basketball outside in your driveway or whatever you need to do. So I think it's about shifting our kids and our own mindsets around that.
Okay, awesome. Because Trisha, last time we spoke about, all like the supplements and things and foods you can eat, to help keep you healthy and engaged during spring and summer. Obviously, again, this time of year, what recommendations do you have now going forward from a supplement standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint? What advice can you give on that side?
So, Mark, there's a few key things that are 3 main areas I like to focus on. The first one is sugar. We're all going to be tempted to eat sugar. It's the holidays. It's part of our culture. Sugar is so detrimental to your immune system. It scientifically has been shown to suppress your immune system, and it also messes up the microbiome in your gut. And 60% of your digestive health and your immune system is in your gut. So we've got to figure out ways to at least reduce the amount of sugar we're eating. We also want to eat foods that are stimulating for serotonin, because with our time change and it's dark all the time, we have less serotonin being produced, and that's what makes you happy. And it keeps your mood uplifted. So things like raw nuts and seeds, yams, sweet potato, squash, all those really healthy, high complex carbs, oatmeal, that sort of stuff. They're full of tryptophan, which is a precursor to serotonin, which is going to help boost your mood. And then the last thing is around supplements. So there's 3 key supplements I always recommend for immunity. Vitamin D is so important, and it's actually been proven now to be very helpful with COVID, both preventing COVID and keeping you less sick if you do get COVID. So that's so hugely important. Vitamin C, we've all heard of that before, but again, a vitamin C supplement, not super expensive and very, very beneficial to stimulate your immune system. And then zinc. Zinc is the 3rd one. And those are 3 that I have all of my clients on. Under normal situations in the winter for the flu season, but it's definitely more important now with COVID.
Michelle, welcome back again. So you guys have, obviously you're in a complete different level and different situation because you run a gym, which unfortunately now has been shut down again because of the new lockdown that we're facing right now until the 21st. So, and you guys, to help compensate for this, you came up with On Demand. So, exercise, we all live and breathe it. It's part of our lives. It's our daily routines. But for people who maybe not have thought about it so much, how can they tune in On Demand? What advice are you giving now with the weather, if you're getting people outside? What can you tell us?
It kind of ties back into what Deborah was talking about with self-care and how exercise is so much about self-care. It makes you feel so much better about yourself mentally and physically. It's just figuring out what is going to work for you. So we developed an Elle On Demand platform where there's multiple workouts, but you can dance, you can spin, you can lift weights. So figuring out what works for you, when you can do it, what you can do in the space that you have, inside or outside, and most important, schedule that time. Make the time for yourself so that you actually do it, because it is so important to take care of yourself physically at this time, especially going into the winter. So find a space in your house that's going to work. Figure out what it is that you can do in that space that makes you happy, that gives you joy, and then schedule it and actually do it.
Let's talk about this. The kids, right? Because I think the kids are the biggest situation that is the mental state of the kids and keeping them grounded and focused. And again, I think it was a lot easier the first time because we were going into good weather. So now, like kids, keep them off the sugar is going to be hard. Like keep them off the junk, especially with the holidays coming and all the Christmas stuff and cookies and all that kind of stuff. But I think the physical standpoint, for the kids that are competitive, that are doing sports that they can't do anymore, whether it's hockey or whether it's figure skating or whether it's soccer, dance, or whatever it might be. So how do we keep these guys focused on staying healthy, eating well, and staying positive? Whoever wants to jump in, go for it. Deb?
Okay, great question. I'm gonna talk about the positivity aspect of it. I think first of all, as parents, we have to recognize that this is an incredibly difficult time for ourselves, but obviously for our children too. And I think validating their experience of that, I actually think that sometimes just sitting in the crappiness of it is more helpful than just trying to problem solve and put sugar coating, not sugar, coconut sugar on it, on it instead, because that's right, natural sweeteners, maple syrup on it instead, because to not validate how difficult it is for them not to be able to be with their friends, for them not to be able to do the things that they really love doing, like competitive sports. I think before we turn to the positivity around it and try to find the silver lining, we really have to sit in the crappiness of it and just be like, this is really, really hard because you can't compete, because you can't see your friends, and that's really, really hard. Let me give you a hug. I'm sitting in it too. This is my experience of it too. And then we can move on to, let's find creative ways to do things that you really enjoy doing. Yeah, you can't do it with your friend. And again, that really, really sucks. On a deep level, sucks. But since we have to focus on the things we can control versus the things that we can't. So if that's something that we can't control because of the circumstances, what can we control? We can control what we do, we can control how we think about it, we can control that there's now a light at the end of the tunnel, potentially. And so what can we do just today? And rather than thinking about what we're gonna do in 3 months from now, just let's focus on today and what we can do today.
So that concludes part 1 of Vlog 9, and we're gonna start now part 2 of Vlog 9.